how's it going? I don't care. So, the word moist is pretty gross. Makes people uncomfortable, so you should only ever use it in appropriate situations, like if you're talking about cake or pussy. Don't want to use it in other situations. Just makes people uncomfortable. Speaking of uncomfortable, I was doing the college thing. Well, still am, but you guys don't give a shit. And I had a roommate. This was last semester. And one night I'm laying in bed, and keep in mind our room is like it's the size of the stage. One bed on one side and one on the other. And it's level, we're on the same level. And I'm laying there looking at my phone, the light's shining on me, and I look over, and I see this familiar shuffling going on under the blankets. And I think, no. There's no way. Like, no, not even a fucking creature of the night akin to ghouls and vampires would do that. It's just unacceptable. And as my eyes became acquainted with the darkness, my heart became acquainted with the darkness of man, for he was indeed pounding his pud. And I wish I had said something like, hey man, fucking knock it off. You know I'm awake, like, I'm fucking lit up like a Christmas tree over here. But I didn't, I just kind of laid there in fear. I didn't know what would happen. But I did change his name in my phone to Poundy McPud, so small victories, I guess. They're coming out with a third Cars movie, which is baffling to me because the first two suck. They're bad movies. And easy joke, I know. But it's mostly like offensive to me because Cars 2 ruined a relationship for me. I'll explain. So I was talking to this girl. This had to be like junior year of high school, and things were going pretty good. Like, she sent me a picture of her tits and said I was cool. Like, I was getting something. And she asked me, like, hey, what's your favorite Disney movie? And as a joke, I say Cars 2 because, as I've established, that movie sucks. And she didn't think it was as funny as I did because she stopped talking to me after that. She said she was like offended by it, and I started thinking, like, why? How could this possibly be a deal breaker? Like, it's not that bad. And I don't know if this is true, but this is my hypothesis. I posit that she had a younger brother, about 7 to 10, somewhere in that range, and he loved the Cars movies. They were his favorite, and his favorite character was Tow Mater, played by Larry the Cable Guy, Nebraska superstar. Nope. And he loved this toy. He had like a little plastic Tow Mater toy, and he choked on it and died. And and she must have thought that I knew about that, and I was making fun of her dead little brother. But I'm not that kind of guy. I don't make fun of real dead kids. I make fun of hypothetical ones. I've been thinking about how the Grinch stole Christmas a lot recently. And that story doesn't make any fucking sense. Now you're probably thinking, oh, Ray's up here, he's taking down How the Grinch Stole Christmas. It's a kid story, you dickhead. Well, yeah, I get that. That's not my problem with it. My problem with How the Grinch Stole Christmas is that... Alright, let me explain. So, How the Grinch Stole Christmas takes place in the fictional city or village of Whoville, which is populated by Whos, which, as we know from their physiology and culture, they're not human. They're entirely different from people. But yet, and it might even go further than that. In Horton Hears a Who, we know that Whoville exists on a speck on a flower in a forest surrounded by talking animals, not people. And yet they still celebrate Christmas, the story of Christ's birth and resurrection. So, this must mean that Whos have their own version of Christ. A Who Christ, who was practicing Who Jew, was betrayed by his best pal, Judas Iscariot, and was probably crucified by a Who analog to Romans. And this must also mean that they have their own version of the Bible, probably written insouciant rhymes with lines like, with nails in his hands and one in his feet, we'll show this Christ, Romans will never be beat. We'll show this false prophet, we'll beat him with these, we'll beat him with use of crucifixion machines. With, you know, big goofy plugs, plugging nails into his hands and shit. I'm Ray, that's my time.